Welcome back to the Posture Pros, everybody. Today on our chat, we've got a very interesting subject for you. We're going to be talking about the paleo posture and not the paleo diet.
Right, like I think everyone wants to go back to that paleo diet. We want to, think about, well, what did our ancestors do? They chased down their foods. They mostly ate, kind of protein and fat and a little bit of berries. And we want to go back to that, thinking that it could really help our overall, health. But what we don't want is we don't want to go back and actually physically look like our ancestors, in that kind of bent forward position, right? Like you were mentioning before, in terms of like, we want that paleo diet, but now we're just ordering it from our phone, right? That doesn't work.
So that's the reality. I mean, a lot of the people want to go back to what the ancestral living for health reasons and health benefits. And yes, if you are someone that is hiking, 10 miles in the mountains to go hunt an elk, to go get that wild lean meat, so on and so forth, the principles apply there. But the whole idea of what we're trying to get at is that we're seeing a lot of breakdown in people, postural breakdown. And even though we have these trends to eat keto and paleo and have a more, ancestral lifestyle, it's almost like a paradox because people are trying to do it from their couch, from their phone, from their computer, and maybe do like an hour of exercise a day, maybe even less, maybe none at all. And so what we want to talk about today is sort of like this reverse trend that we're seeing where people are going to go back to something Paleolithic, but it's not going to be the diet, it's going to be the postural breakdown because of our current lifestyle trends.
Right. And you were just at a conference this past weekend, but as a whole, our job has changed over these last 20 years. I've been a chiropractor now for 22 years. And what I'm doing now and what I really want to do for most patients now is to reteach them what posture should look like, how to get back to that better posture and to help them overall. Whereas before, we didn't have to work as hard in helping people gain back their posture.
And we've been preaching this for the past 10 years. I mean, behind closed doors, we're always talking about this, our concern that we have for these younger generations moving forward. If you think about, if we take 10 people that are in their 70s or 80s, you might see one or two that have that posture that is bent over where it looks like they can't even sit up or stand up straight. And I think that with time, as we continue to see these significant increases in consumption of digital devices and digital media, our concern is that it's not going to be 1 or 2 out of 10 people in their 70s or 80s that have this, what we call a postural geriatric kyphosis, but it's maybe going to be 8 or 9 out of 10.
Right.
And that trend is accelerating faster and faster. We were talking about this 10 years ago, before cell phones got even smarter and better and we had better access to this information. Before COVID happened and we had the movement towards like sedentary living and being on your laptop at home. And so our real big concern is the rate at which this is accelerating and how much faster we're seeing postural breakdown in even very young kids.
Because again, just like that example you gave is, how many 70-year-olds would be in that posture? But again, we have to kind of go backwards and go, well, those 70-year-olds, when they were kids, they were probably grew up on a farm or moving or, they were doing a lot of things. Whereas now if we backtrack, we go, okay, what's the average 13-year-old? How much time do they spend on their phone? 6, 7, 10 hours a day. And now if they start life out like that, what are they going to look like when they're 30, 50, or 70 years old? That's our concern. That's the alarm that we want to, kind of ring to allow people to kind of change their lifestyle right now.
I mean, most parents, if they have teenagers, especially obviously since COVID, but I think most parents can attest to this. And even if we check our own cell phones, I'm someone that doesn't spend very much time on my phone because I'm here doing things and moving around all day. But when I look at my screen time and I still see that it's 3 or 4 hours a day, I am like shocked that it's even possible that I could have the time to do that. Right. And I'm not someone that even touches my phone that much.
Right.
And so when we look at trends for younger people, or maybe even the average person that sits at a desk with their phone next to them, those are more like 7, 8 hours a day, probably even upwards of 10, 11 hours in some individuals. And I think the book that we've both been reading, The Comfort Crisis, the author describes a group of, I believe it's in Japan, correct?
Yep.
A group of kids in Japan that are not even leaving their bedrooms anymore. Because now you can order all the food you need directly to your door. Like you don't even have to leave your house to be able to survive, other than maybe go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
So yeah, so that's an absolute concern of what's happening with posture. You mentioned the conference I was at this weekend. And so just to give you an idea, if this posture progresses bad enough and someone gets into their 60s, 70s, or 80s in that rounded posture, our job has changed because we're not necessarily trying to help improve their health. We're trying to just get them to sit upright in a chair. And some of the basic exercises these instructors were teaching us is how do you get someone from this position to even sitting up straight? The person cannot do it on their own. So there were external devices like pushing on broomsticks, trying to get someone to elongate to really even just be able to fight gravity. And so, our job is to help people prevent that from happening.
So a few things that we could maybe give you in terms of things to think about. So number one is awareness.
Yeah.
So, look at yourself and be honest in terms of, okay, what am I doing most of the day? Am I someone that is spending 5, 6, 10 hours a day on my phone? Am I sitting at a computer? Am I working from home? Like, we have to be honest of like, how many hours am I not moving and in a compromised position? And one of the ways that you could do that is have, kind of either a family member or a colleague, kind of like help you out and either take a picture of you from the side or kind of remind you, hey, it's time to get up, or have a watch, a phone to remind you of, okay, it's time to move, it's time to get up and get your body into that right position. The other thing in terms of awareness is now we have this digital currency that we have, our phones or watches, but use it to your advantage. So whether it's, okay, how many steps did I take today? How many minutes of activity did I do today? What can I do? Can I park further away? Can I, instead of sitting down and eating my lunch, can I be, taking my lunch outside? It's being aware of what you're doing and measuring it. So you could say, today I did not do enough. I've got to do better tomorrow, right? Number one, awareness. Number two is, yes, we've got to get into a routine of doing proper postural exercises. If you look around our channel, there's a ton of resources that you could use to just get yourself back up and moving. If you need specific help, obviously reach out to us, but there's plenty of information. It's not a lack of information that's happening right now. It's out there, but getting into a routine of our habit of doing daily postural exercises to get you back into that position. And number three is, find a professional, find a chiropractor, find somebody local that you could, routinely, have a checkup, have an adjustment, get your spine moving, and check your posture on a regular basis.
So hopefully you enjoyed our chat about Paleolithic posture and hopefully helping people prevent de-evolution, if you will. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. If you know that this video will benefit someone that is sort of suffering from this problem, please obviously share it out with them, and we will see you next time on the Posture Pros Chat.